Okay, I thought I'd show you guys a new device that I've just picked up. It's called a WOO. This is the box for it. Not a huge amount to see on there, but basically what it does is it's a device to attach to your kitesurf board. I believe they're going to be using it for mountain biking and other stuff later on, but at the moment it's designed for kitesurfing. And it tracks your height of your jump and the G-force when you crash, and all the, how many jumps and your telemetry and all that kind of stuff. It's not GPS; it works from inertia, so it's obviously got some pretty clever algorithms in it to do what it needs to do. Let me just change the focus so it's nice and close. You can have a good look at it. It's not massively complicated. You've got one button, one light, and then a little contact there for to plug into the charger, which is here. It's just a USB charger. By the way, it takes about 90 minutes to charge, and that charge lasts about 8 hours apparently. And all you do is you press the button for 2 seconds to turn it on, so that's in standby mode now, and then you press it again to get the red light, and that's now recording your session. So that's what it would be doing on when you're actually kite surfing. And at the end of your session, you press it again to standby mode, and then what you do is you download the WOO app onto your phone and you transfer the data onto your phone, and that's the gist of it. So it's a pretty simple little device. It comes with a little 3M board mount with rubber bands to hold it in place, a couple of spare bands in case you lose those, I guess, and an alcohol wipe to clean your board so you get a nice contact with the actual mount. Little just quick start guides, just one sheet. It doesn't tell you a huge amount, it just tells you to put it crossways on the board, not let's get the focus correct. Crossways on the board, not sort of lengthways, if that makes sense. And yeah, turn it on, how to turn it on, record your session, download the app, and how to charge. Pretty straightforward stuff. So yeah, so that's the gist of it. I've already used it once because we had a competition on the weekend, and it seemed to do the job. It was pretty hard to tell whether it was being accurate or not, but what I thought I'd do is I'd go for a kite surf, wear a GoPro, start recording with this at the same time, and then compare the data, the telemetry, the height of the jumps and all that kind of thing, with what it looks like with the GoPro, so to give me an idea whether it's recording the correct amount of jumps, whether it's missed one, just to get a rough idea how accurate it is. Obviously I'm not going to be running around with a tape measure to tell exactly whether it's getting my height right, but I should know, just instinctively whether I've just had a really big jump at the end of the session, so the last jump should read as the highest, or whether my first jump was the best jump, and therefore the telemetry should show that. So anyway, that's the device. I'll go for a kite surf now, and then compare the numbers to the video. Let's change the focus again, and then I'll also show you the what it looks like when it gets onto the onto your iPhone or smartphone app as well. So it's pretty windy outside, so I'm gonna go for a kite surf. Okay, so as you can see, that's the what it looks like from the GoPro, and what stats it kind of gives me. Also, at the end of the session, I got someone just to stand on the shore and just film a couple of jumps, from a third-person perspective, so I can judge the height a little bit better that way to see if it's accurate. So I'll show you that at the end. It kind of gives you a better idea of the accuracy. But let's have a look at the app. So obviously, download the app onto your smartphone. The WOO app, it's called, and basically then it works kind of like Strava, if you know what Strava is. That's for like running and cycling and stuff. You've kind of got your activity, which is like if your mates have liked your session, or if you're a kite surfer is got a personal best or something like that. It all kind of pops up in notifications. Leaderboards, and then finding friends. You can also go into exploring all of the different sort of kite spots around you, and then you can just quite simply this is where that session was, the last session that you just saw, the bluff in Hale, and then it brings up a leaderboard. So I'm number 5 there on the leaderboard, and you can also look at airtime, and I managed to get number 1 on the airtime, which is kind of cool. And then if we go into just my profile, so then it gives you sort of like your top figures, your highest ever jump and your longest ever airtime and all that kind of stuff. And if we have a look at the actual one of the sessions, so that session that you just saw with the GoPro, it's this one here, so it's 11.4 meters was the highest jump and 7.2 seconds was the longest airtime. Then you can actually go into that and look at this. It says 81 jumps over 47 minutes. So then you can actually look at every individual jump, and it gives you a split time. That was how I could sort of work out which jump out of all those jumps was the one it says it was, if that makes sense, on the GoPro footage. So as you can see, my biggest jump was sort of like my first proper jump. Most of these ones that aren't highlighted are just kind of like hopping over waves. They're just like 1.5 meters or 2 meters or something. 11.4 was my biggest jump on that session. And I was in the air for 5.1 seconds, and then you can literally just go through every single little jump and pick out the best ones. So if you're kind of into editing or something, and say if you're filming another kite surfer, it'd be pretty cool that you can then get this data and figure out exactly where his best jumps were, so you can find the footage and edit accordingly, basically. So that's pretty cool. So that's what the WOO app looks like. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea. The leaderboards I found is a little bit slow to download all the information, but you can obviously look at the world or just look at Europe or what have you. And they also email you like if you get it onto the leaderboards and stuff. Like I got into number 8 in Europe or something like that for that day, and they email you like a little JPEG saying with your name on the leaderboard, which is kind of cool. So you can share that on Facebook or what have you. So anyway, that's the WOO app, and it all kind of works pretty well. And there's loads of different ways of sort of finding fellow kite surfers and sort of seeing what they've been up to and comparing your stats to their stats, all that kind of malarkey. So let's show you a couple of clips. They're not very spectacular jumps, unfortunately, because I was a bit underpowered by the time I did this little session at the end. But it's good in terms of comparing the actual the height. So if we have a look at this clip here, so if we just pause it at the sort of apex of the jump, so the WOO stats said that jump was 8.9 meters, and this is my kind of my dodgy scientific kind of test. It's obviously no rulers involved, but I just used the length of the board. So my board is 131 centimeters. And that board is pretty much flat onto camera, so it's relatively an accurate judge of distance. And I managed to jump on that particularly average jump 6.5 board length, so 6.5. So if then you times 6.5 times the 131 centimeters, that gives you 851 centimeters and a half, so 8.5 meters basically. And that's basically an increase of about it's 5%, so 5% exaggeration basically. So it's saying that I did an 8.9 meter jump, and I actually did about an 8.5 meter jump. So yeah, I would say that's, considering how it works, I would say that's an acceptable sort of margin for error. So anyway, so that's my testing. I did this for a couple of jumps, and yeah, my testing came to conclusion that it exaggerates about 5%. So it tells you you're jumping a little bit higher than you actually are on average, which is, you know, it's not too bad at all. And I guess if everybody's got the same slight exaggeration, then it's a level playing field. So it doesn't really matter too much. If you jump higher than your mate, you probably did. You know, if it says you jumped higher than your mate, then you probably did jump higher than your mate. Anyway, there you go, guys. That's my sort of testing, real world testing of the WOO Sports kitesurf or kiteboard performance tracker. And yeah, it's kind of nifty. It's I wish it was a bit cheaper. It's not super cheap, but it's a cool way to kind of like turn kitesurfing into a video game. Anyway, there you go, guys. I hope that was useful. Any comments, stick them down below. Cheers.